Episode 66, Our Least Favorite Sci-Fi Clichés. Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show. Welcome to the podcast. This is Daniel Grove, your host for today, and it is just me. We planned on having Nate with us and a few others to join, but due to weather and unforeseen circumstances, that is just not going to happen. In fact, Nate is living off the grid right now. That's right. He's running from the IRS. Just kidding. He's out of power because of storms. So, it's just me tonight. But before we get to the fun stuff of this episode, first we got a few quick announcements. I am currently booking for San Japan Convention. So that is August 30th and 31st, a Friday and Saturday. I have a bunch of mini photo shoot time slots that are still currently available, although they are booking up. So if you're interested in getting an awesome cosplay photo shoot at San Japan, then you got to let me know ASAP because those time slots are booking up and you don't want to miss out. I get my best photos at that event and it's going to be a lot of fun. Also coming up this summer and into the fall is more classes. I'm going to be doing some special classes at Camera Exchange. That's a super cool photography store here in San Antonio. I'm going to be teaching a Lightroom class as well as an advanced Photoshop class that you do not want to miss. If you want to learn these programs and get better, quicker, faster, and learn some really good new tips to enhance your photography and your business, definitely come to those classes because you will learn some really great stuff. And aside from the classroom setting classes, I do one-on-one lessons as well. Here's something I've been wanting to do for literally a few months is I have wanted to thank Angela Brock for the incredible graphic design she has been doing for this podcast. She's the one that makes all those super spiffy and oh so swell graphics for each episode. So that's what you see on Facebook. That's what you see on your podcast app, hopefully, as well as the website. She has been making the face of the podcast for quite a while now, and I've just been kicking myself. I keep forgetting to mention her in each episode, and I feel terrible. So, Angela, thank you for volunteering your amazing time and making these really great graphics for each episode. Not only does Angela do Photoshop designs for this kind of stuff, but she's also an incredible pencil artist. She does character portraits from fandoms that we all know and love, such as Avengers, Doctor Who, Walking Dead, Lord of the Rings, you name it. And you can find her art at facebook.com/art by Angela Brock. It's spelled just how it sounds. If you can't spell it out, then I don't know. You need Hooked on Phonics or something. But go check out her page. Go like it. Tell her to draw some more stuff. And we love you, Angela. Looking forward to having you back on the podcast very soon. Speaking of the podcast, we love to hear from you guys, not only about specific episodes, whether you're agreeing or disagreeing, but we want to get ideas from you guys. We want to know what y'all love to listen to because this is a variety show. So we've got a lot of random stuff. We may have an episode about photography techniques, and then the next episode will be a sci-fi movie review. You don't get that in a lot of podcasts, and I personally like to see that it's a good thing, that we're unique, that we're offering something special, but we want to hear back from you guys and know what kinds of episodes y'all love the most. What are the ones that really catch your eye and that you can't wait to listen to, and what are the other episodes that you don't really care that much about? Because, we want to spend time on what you like. So let us know what you look forward to most, and if you have any specific ideas like, hey, I'd love for you guys to talk about this subject, or I'd love for y'all to maybe do a movie review of this movie, or what do you think about this thing here? Just email that over to us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. And last but not least, the new trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home just came out, I think 2 or 3 days ago, and boy, is it a doozy. It looks amazing. We don't have time to talk about it in this episode, although I'm considering devoting an entire episode to just that trailer and the themes or story ideas therein. I'm not going to spoil it because the trailer itself does have some end-game spoilers in it, so just be aware of that. But yeah, that may be happening sometime very soon. Okay, let's get on with the episode. I love science fiction. I also love fantasy. I really don't know if I love one more than the other, but when someone asks me what I'm into, I usually just tell them science fiction because that's what I've been listening to the most over the past about 4 or 5 years. I've listened to, and I've also read a few actual books and a lot of ebooks, but I listen to audiobooks like nobody's business. Now, not as much as Daniel Walzak, who was on a previous episode, but pretty much more than most people. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I can finish about one per week if it's a really good one. So in the past 4 or 5 years, I listened to around 80 to 90 books, including reading books and ebooks. The reason why is I just love a good story. I love when an author has just a brilliant idea, a beautiful way of wording things, and ties it all together with a really great story that surprises me. When I'm not surprised, when I see something coming from a mile away, it's just kind of a waste of my time personally. Since I'm a story addict, I love to see people change and go through hardship and come out on the other end stronger and better. I love a good epic story that takes me along for the ride. But man, when these cliches start popping up everywhere, I have to assume either the author is really lazy, maybe they're really ignorant, or sometimes you just have to wonder. But I have collected quite a list of cliches just in my own head of just things that I always see pop up in a lot of TV shows and movies, or I'm like, oh, there's that cliche again. Oh, there's that trope. We always see that in the alien invasion stories. We always see that with the bad robot stories, things like that. While I love a good story, I also don't take life so seriously that I can't just make fun of anything. So I like to make fun of, tropes and cliches and things that pop up a lot in stories like this. So that's what we're going to go over today. Some of it's just for a cheap laugh, but also I think we'll have some good discussion, even if it's just between me and myself, with you listening. Some good discussion about psychology and even some technology and physics that, hey, maybe you'll learn something new. All right, so let's get started. All right, these are in no particular order. Let's start with the first one on the top of my list. And this is the cliche where an entire alien race that is discovered or we make contact with the entire alien race of a single planet has one single culture. They're a monocultural alien race. And this just bugs me because I feel like this is lazy writing, but also we're not thinking deeply enough about sentient races. Now let's look at ourselves. Do we have one culture across the earth? No. Will we ever? I don't think so. Have we ever in the past? Definitely not. We're creatures that are so smart and so varied and so different from each other. Sure, we have a lot of similarities, but we have so many differences that just spurs on creativity and different paths of history and religion and culture and things like that. So across the earth, if aliens encountered us, they might be confused. They might think that we're different races or something because there's so much variety on the earth. I feel like it should be no different for any alien planet out there with any sufficiently advanced alien race, whether advanced in technology or if they're just advanced in culture and society. They should have differences. And if they don't, we might have something to worry about. A few examples that popped into my head while thinking about this was Klingons. Now, I am not a Star Trek buff, so I could be completely wrong. And I might get a bunch of angry Trekkie emails saying, oh, no, in this episode, this, and in this series, that. I don't know. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm willing to take correction. But I feel like Klingons are just a bunch of angry, grumpy warlord guys that just want to fight and kill stuff. Am I wrong? I don't know. Maybe Josh will correct me on this one. But come on, like, are there any nice Klingons? Oh yeah, there's Worf. There's that guy. What's his story? I don't know. I'm sorry, but they just come off as like that. All Klingons should have fighting on their mind, aggression, military tactics. They're just a bunch of fighters. Another example, and this really is not a very strong case, but Ewoks. Do they all just live in the forest and all just party and drink and make tree houses? Are there Ewoks that have developed technology? How about the Na'vi in James Cameron's Avatar movie series? Now, they actually have diversity. They have different types of tribes. They have different climates. They live in different areas on this planet, on this moon. And, apparently some live in the ocean. I don't know how that works, but we're going to find out on this next movie. But I like that we see diversity and differences among the different groups of the Na'vi. All right, so if you're going to write a sci-fi where we encounter an alien race, whether in space or on a planet, or they come to us, please don't make them all the same. Come on. Okay, next on the list, this always bugs me because I'm a huge computer guy. I love computers. I love technology. I love where technology is going, except for when a human made Windows computer or Linux, if you will, or possibly even Mac, can perfectly connect with and interface with and understand alien technology and alien computers. Come on, guys. Seriously? Like, do alien computers even use binary? Do they even use electrons, for goodness sake? They could be organic, they could be quantum, they could use protons. We don't know. But when we are able to patch in some human made cable, some human network, some Wi Fi signal, some radio signals, and just talk to an alien device and, get their information, hack into their system, like, that's ridiculous. The best example that I can think of is Independence Day when they fly up to the mothership. They hack into the alien computer network with a virus via a Linux operating system. Now, I guess your best bet is use Linux, but still, it happens nonetheless. And they leave a virus. What computer language did they write it in? C plus? Do the computers on the alien ship have decompilers and compilers that work with C plus? We'll never know, but I'm pretty sure it's a no. Yet, regardless, we made a virus for an alien computer. Now, I see this happen a lot where they're able to hack in or access data or whatever on a totally foreign network and system that we have no clue how it works. That's just a big no from me. Okay, we're talking about alien races and technology. How about this cliche? When an alien race is advanced enough to travel light years and light years across the galaxy from faraway planets and stars, they're able to survive interstellar space, whether through cryogenic freezing or a wormhole or light speed travel or something wild like that. They're so advanced, right? They get to our planet. What do? They wipe us out. They don't ask us any questions. They have no morals. They have no ethics. They have no way to incorporate us into a larger culture. They have no way to say, "Oh, hey, you guys can keep these continents with oxygen, and we're going to terraform these over here, and we'll politely move you out of the way." No, they're just total monsters. Sometimes they literally look and act and sound like monsters, yet they're advanced enough to get across the galaxy. That's dumb. A few examples are Predator. These guys have got some serious technology because they're able to travel through space to come to our planet. And sometimes it's just a one guy in a ship. That's pretty darn advanced. If you don't need a crew to navigate interstellar space, and what do? They're going on hunting trips. Like that's literally the backstory of Predator and all the other franchises connected. Is predators? They just love to kill stuff. They love to hunt. Yeah, and that's what they do. They come to other planets and they hunt sentient species just for the dang fun of it. Now, I don't have a problem with that backstory per se, but when you look at it in the bigger picture, it's like, don't they have better things they could be doing with their technology and their interests? Get a better hobby. Stop killing people. Come on, be nice. Another example is, of course, Independence Day. Honestly, you could probably make a list of cliches in that movie, and that's okay. That movie is incredible. It's so much fun, even though it's packed full of cliches. But here's another one. The aliens are ridiculously advanced. I mean, look at those spaceships. They're bigger than a whole city. They can gravitate above a planet, no problem. And they're making biomechanical suits for the little alien bodies. Very, very advanced, yet they have no morals or ethics, no consideration for other life other than themselves. And frankly, that's just unimpressive and also a little bit unreasonable. You often hear the question or the thought experiment of if a huge alien force or alien ship shows up in orbit or in our atmosphere, are you going to be scared? Are you going to be excited? Honestly, I feel like if they got here, they deserve to be here, and at least we can hear them out. And they should also want to hear us out because we're here first. It's our planet, and they should have some kind of some societal development to where they won't just be utter barbarians. They could also operate a spaceship with high efficiency. And that's just not buying it. Okay, next. Anthropomorphic aliens. Yeah, it's a big word. Anthropomorphic just means that you look and you appear to be and work like a human body. And my complaint here, this cliche is aliens that have evolved on a completely different planet. They have come to be across the galaxy and they come to meet us. And what do they look like? They got two symmetrical arms, two legs, a head on top, two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Wow, they're like human. Now, my real complaint is based on the worldview that most science fiction comes from. In fact, I can't think of any exceptions to this, but I'm still going to say 99% of sci fi comes from an atheistic viewpoint, which, of course, embraces and touts the theory of evolution that life has come into being somehow through, I don't know, random cause, chemical luck, things like that, and that has evolved and survived and fought its way to the top. Eventually, it's turned into a sentient being that has mastered technology and eventually spaceflight. Right? That's what the atheists believe. We are. That's the theory of evolution in a very very small nutshell. Um, and all that to say, aliens, if they're developing and evolving totally on their own, independent from humankind, if they're evolving on their own planet out there somewhere, are they going to turn out to look just like humans? Probably not. A very, very small chance. And in fact, if they do look just like humans, or in a general way have a humanoid body, they might have a different skin color. That's fine. They might have a few scales in their face. They might have big eyes or a big nose or horns or something. Basically like Star Trek and Star Wars aliens. If we find aliens that look anything similar to us, honestly, I feel like that could be one of the biggest points for intelligent design for God or a common creator, whatever you want to call it, because there's just no way evolution could make another creature look just like us. Now, there is a thing called convergent evolution, which says that two unrelated or mostly unrelated life forms will evolve on their own path and track, through survival and whatnot, adaptation. And in the end, they turn out to be very similar to each other, even though they're not directly related. I saw online sharks and dolphins. Apparently, some believe that's convergent evolution. Yeah, so maybe some aliens out there could evolve and turn into what looks like a humanoid body form and work and move just like us. But that's kind of cocky, don't you think? To say that our body type is the best, to say that evolution, any successful evolutionary tract on any planet anywhere should turn into humanoid body forms. That's pretty human centric. Now, if you believe in God as a creator, as I do, then there is plenty of room for the ability and the presence of aliens to look just like humans. Because who made us? God. Who designed us? God. He made us in his image, and that doesn't mean that God has a humanoid form. I think that God's image is much deeper than physical image. I think it's more of an internal spiritual thing. Like we have free will, we have emotions, we have desire to do things and be. I think that's what it means by God's image. But if God made humans, so we have got a pretty good design, right? There's actually a mind behind design. So that means that if he designed other lives on other planets, that they might also have a similar body type and function. So that makes sense. And it's kind of funny. I often feel that people believe it's the other way around. They feel like if we meet aliens, that means, oh, religion's all wrong. Christianity is just going to crack apart and fall and just turn into dust because, oh, we've discovered aliens. And, that means God's not real. No, I think that aliens would prove God's existence because evolution has such small odds on happening on our planet alone that if it happened on another planet, like wow, the odds are even more astronomical of that happening. Two planets to one galaxy. So I say aliens would prove God. No, okay, not prove. Aliens would support a belief in God as creator and intelligent design. And I just get bugged by anthropomorphic aliens that are pretty much 90% human with some attribute changed, which is usually due to makeup or stuff being added onto the face, aka Star Trek aliens. Now, I think Star Trek conveniently tied up that loose end by saying that some master ancient alien race had like seeded all the planets with various changes and alterations to the DNA and plan of life, and we all came to being in different planets because we had one like parental alien race that seeded us all. That's why we're so similar, and that's a pretty creative idea, and definitely not original. But just there's that. I feel like in an atheist worldview where evolution is the only way life can come to be, that if we find life out there, it will be the weirdest, most ununderstandable, truly an alien thing. It could be a ginormous crystalline form iceberg on a planet that's glowing, and we don't have any way to communicate to it. We have no way of interacting with it. We don't know if it knows about us. We don't know if it knows that we know about it. It could be a gas cloud. It could be a bladdery envelope of gas floating around on a gas giant that's just eating bugs and sucking up gas and thinking about life. We don't know what life could look like, but I really doubt it's going to look like us, again, in an evolutionary viewpoint. And every now and then, I do come across a genuinely creative alien design, and I get so happy inside. The nerd in me really comes out. I recently read a book that I actually didn't like. We talked about it on the book reviews episode with Daniel Walzak. I actually gave it a 2 or 3 star because I did not like the. This is a short story. I just didn't like it. But I did like the alien design because they looked like floating jellyfish with glowing, like blue energy, glowing tentacles. Their head was like a big bubble. There was gas floating around inside. They kind of farted out this like green blue gas to kind of breathe. And they were just so alien, in the true definition of alien. They were nothing like a human. They didn't think or act or move like a human. And that just made me happy because, finally getting some creativity in there. If you guys know of any truly amazing alien designs of aliens, send them my way because I'm sure there's plenty that I'm missing out on. But I would love to see some really far out there designs of alien sentient life because who knows what's out there, right? All right, moving on. Here's a cliche that always bugs me, and this not only applies to sci-fi movies, but mostly action movies actually, is when the good guys are, working their way through a complex or through a mission, they're killing bad guys or they're shooting up the place and exploding stuff everywhere, and they're running out of ammo, right? But they never grab the bad guys' weapons. Come on. Like, their weapons aren't bad, just the bad guys are bad. So grab the bad guys' weapons, use them for good. Grab their ammo, grab that grenade off their body, get that dagger in his shoe, just grab something. Stock up on some weapons, please. It kills me that they're wasting all of that valuable inventory and weapons and whatnot that they could just totally be whooping more butt with. But no, they're just gonna leave that dead guy there, full of weapons, full of ammo, just not do nothing about it. Just walk over them, go through the next door. Dumb. Now, I have seen a few movies going against this action movie cliche, and this is where they're picking up not just any weapon, but the alien weapons off of the alien. And I enjoy that, but I think that they do that because, oh, we got a cool alien weapon. We can show off some cool visual effects. We can have something funny or goofy or unknown happen, and we can use it kind of as a secret leverage against the aliens because now that human character or the human forces will finally have something that can fight back with, and that's always fun. Good for the story. It makes me even more upset when a human walks by a dead alien. I'm like, dude, get that freaking alien weapon. That thing was amazing. Come on, just give it a try. All right, next on the list of things that annoy Daniel is the fact that starships in space have a nice 3-point lighting setup. You can see the whole spaceship, you can see the left side, the right side. There's some nice color, there's all kinds of detail. Are they in between two stars giving light from both sides? No, there's a star way, way far in the background. They're in the middle of nowhere, no planets, no stars anywhere close by. Yet the spaceship is just so nicely illuminated. You can see everything. That's not real. That's not realistic. Pretty sure out in space it's actually very, very dark. Unless you're within, like, I don't know, Mars-ish, Saturn-ish orbit of a star our size, you're not going to have a whole lot of light to work with on your spaceship to make things look pretty and nice. Um, Yet many sci-fi ships find themselves illuminated by who knows what. Now, maybe this trend is going down because honestly, a lot of the newer spaceship hulls are self-illuminated by just random cool lights. Why are they there? So we can see the spaceship in space. That's why they're there. Maybe to help with the spacewalk, but mostly so we can see the awesome shape and design of the spaceship. Like the Star Trek Enterprise, they've got all kinds of conveniently placed lighting to really accentuate the curves and the cool shape of those spaceships. I like that, not a bad thing. But if you see a spaceship out in space and it's all bright and stuff, just realize it would probably be the worst lighting possible. There's just not a whole lot of light to work with. Okay, we're talking about spaceships. Here is a huge complaint I have about spaceships in space is that they bank when they turn left or right. Now, banking is, let's imagine a fighter jet. Okay, it's flying, it's looking beautiful. You got music from Top Gun playing. Tom Cruise is flying it. It's about to make a turn to the left. What does it do? It kind of tilts, right? The right wing goes up, the left wing goes down, and then it starts to turn to the left or opposite, going to the right. It banks left, banks right. It's got a tilt just because of aerodynamics and our engines and aerodynamics and stuff like that. But in space, we don't have to deal with any of that junk. There's no atmosphere, there's no fluid dynamics, there's no aerodynamic stuff to deal with. You just got a forward thrust and you've got to get your ship pointing a different direction somehow. So why are spaceships out in space banking and twisting and turning all these different directions? They literally don't need to do that at all. The only reason a ship would have to rotate to make a turn is possibly for visibility. If you've got an old-fashioned glass, cockpit window, you got to see what's in front of you, so you have to turn that direction and then change the direction of your ship. Maybe. But even then, you should have cameras all over the place. You should be fine. Yet we still see spaceships, large and small, banking left and right and doing all these swivel pivots and stuff before they turn. It's dumb. Stop doing that. So let's talk about space physics real quick. Here's a quick breakdown. I'm not a physicist, but I understand a few things. And if you don't, you're about to learn something. So let's imagine we're on Earth. Okay, we're not in space right now for this example. We're at the edge of a nice still pond. There's no waves or movement going on in the water. We've got a boat of some like a toy boat, and we put it in the water and we push it forwards. What happens? It goes in the direction that you pushed it, right? You applied force in that specific direction, and it coasts in that direction. Now, what's going to happen next? The boat's going to slow down, right? Just because of physics, something called entropy. It sucks literally sometimes, the boat is going to run out of forward momentum. It's going to slow down to a stop. And if there's any movement in the water is going to take it in that direction. That's just how floating works. Now, it's sort of similar in space. If a jet on the back of a spaceship, whether it's large or small, thrusts it in a specific direction, did you know the spaceship's going to keep moving? It'll accelerate at a continuous rate in that direction that the engine was fired against. Okay. So that's forward thrust. Easy. We're going to get to Mars. We point the spaceship where it's going to be, and we hit that engine. We just keep on accelerating, right? Well, that's not really realistic. Usually, spaceships will fire their engine and get to a certain velocity that they're happy with, and then they'll turn off the engine and they'll coast at that speed until they get where they're going. Because if you leave that engine on, you're going to continually gain acceleration, and you're going to be accelerating faster and faster every second. And eventually, you might tear your ship apart, or you just straight up run out of gas, which is why we don't always keep engines on during spaceflight. Okay, so back to the steering problem. Now, let's say your ship already accelerated in one direction. Let's say it's going to go to the moon. Okay, we went to top speed, we turned off the engines, and we're just coasting. We got another, I don't know, 2 weeks of flight time. Now, what if we need to course correct? Oh, the moon's going to be a little farther, in the orbit than we expected, but farther to the left. Now, how do we turn the ship? Well, you have to use directional thrusters of some kind. So, up near the front of the spaceship, there should be engines up there too to help push the spaceship sideways and basically re-aim it towards the target destination where it wants to go. And once you've aimed the ship in the right way, you've got to stop the spaceship from turning. So you've got to fire the opposite directional thrusters on the front of the spaceship to keep it from continuing to swivel that direction. And now the spaceship's pointing where you want. Now you got to hit the main thruster again to accelerate in that direction, because you'll be coasting towards your old location at a weird angle if you don't. So there's a lot of weird maneuvering stuff you've got to do out in space to fix where your spaceship's going, to get where you want to go. There's a lot of physics and momentum and just weird stuff going on that you got to take into consideration. And that brings me to my next complaint is that spaceships in most science fiction have no trace of any kind of directional thrusters, no reverse engine to slow things down if they're going towards a planet or a location, because you can't just like hit the brakes. There's no brakes. You have to fire your engine in reverse. Or, like we see in The Expanse, they turn the whole spaceship around 180. Now their main thruster is facing towards their destination, and they start firing their thruster. Why would they do that? Well, they got to slow down so they don't crash into that planet or that space station. They have to fire the reverse thruster for quite a time to counteract that acceleration they had towards that target. Now they're not going to totally kill the acceleration, because then they'll just stop in dead space and they won't be moving at all. But you got to slow down to a safe speed to where when you really get approach your target, you can hit some more thrusters to really stop your ship from moving. So because there's no oxygen to slow you down, there's no atmosphere to hit or drive through like we have with planes here on Earth, there's just a lot more needed to navigate a spaceship effectively through space. And you just don't really see that demonstrated visually in most science fictions. And to me, I feel like that could be some really cool visuals. There are some sci-fis that are more hard sci-fis like Interstellar, and of course, space history movies like Apollo 13 that really do demonstrate the difficulties of piloting a ship and aligning things and slowing things down and docking and stuff like that. And I feel like that's exciting because it's realistic. It's nerve-wracking. And when your spaceship just, goes to a planet and just goes in orbit somehow and doesn't like crash into it or shoot out the other side of the planet, it's just not believable. It doesn't impress me. All right, so we talked about visiting a planet. Let's pretend we've landed on this brand new alien planet, and we're going to move on to my next annoying cliche. And that is that space explorers, especially those who have just landed on a brand spanking new planet, they don't know what's going on. They haven't done proper biological testing to see what's in the air, what's in the water, what's on the planet. What do? They take their stupid helmet off every time. Why? I know your little fancy wrist computer says, oh, oxygen and nitrogen and no contaminants. I don't know. I wouldn't trust that. If I was a first explorer on a planet, I would want to live so I could tell about it and name the planet after me. Daniel's Planet. Planet Daniel. Okay. Not very catchy, but you get my point. I want to live to tell the story of the planet that I landed on or the aliens that I just found. I'm not going to take my spacesuit off. I'm not going to risk it, take my glove off to touch some pretty little plant or some new alien, hashtag Prometheus, and die. Yeah, that was dumb. So, guys, stop taking off your helmets. You got oxygen. It's not that bad in there. Just don't take the risk. While I'm ranting about space helmets and taking them off, why do sci fi spacesuits always have a crap ton of LED lights on the person's face? Like, do they need lights on their face to do their job? No, they don't. NASA astronauts, you can't see their face. They got a golden protective filter to keep their face from melting off if they're out in space. And it looks cool. Okay, don't get me wrong. Spacesuit design in sci-fi movies is one of my favorite things. I always look forward to seeing what the spacesuit's going to look like, how it's going to bend and move, and what it'll have on it. One of my favorite spacesuits is actually 1998 Lost in Space. Those suits were amazing. They were so cool and unique. Movie, not so much. We actually did an episode on that movie. Go check it out if you liked or hated that movie. But come on, we don't need aesthetic face lighting so that we can see, how terrified the person is during a moment. It's just unnecessary. All right, moving on. Here is one of my very favorite. This one doesn't so much anger me as it makes me laugh because it's preposterous. It's so overused, especially in Star Trek, and it just doesn't make sense. It is a classic reverse the polarity cliche. Now, all my sci-fi fans out there are probably giggling to themselves because they know, you've seen it in your favorite sci-fi, in your favorite franchises. Someone has reversed the polarity of something or other to save the day. They didn't do it before, but they do it at the very end of the episode. And not only does it save their butts, but it allows them to fight off the attacking enemy as well. How convenient. I looked this up just out of curiosity to see how many times Star Trek has reversed the polarity to save the day. And boy, it's a lot. I don't have a number because I found a website that listed all of them, and it was hilarious to just read through. You can find that by going to memory-alpha.fandom.com, which is the Star Trek, wiki, whatever, and just look up polarity or reverse polarity. Oh my gosh, it is a great article. There's so many funny examples of just reversing the magnetic seal, reversing the shield deflector energy, reversing the engine thrust, just you name it. Polarity has been reversed on everything. Now, one of the origins of this classic reverse of polarity trope comes from Doctor Who. And if my reading is right, it's from the third Doctor. He says the classic line, reverse the polarity of the neutron flow. Now, neutrons don't have a charge. They're neutral. So you can't reverse any polarity of a neutron. Now, I guess they're flowing somewhere. Where? I don't know. Why? Who knows? Neutrons are not very helpful. But hey, we're reversing that polarity of the flow of those neutrons, by golly. And we don't know why. But this classic cliche always makes me laugh because it's always like the last ditch effort, but it works flawlessly. I've also heard interchangeably we're reversing the ion flow, like there's some ions going one direction. If we turn them backwards, it'll save everything and repair the AI. It'll turn our shields back on. It'll give us weapon energy and you name it. It's just a perfect solution for everything. And I actually dropped this joke on a regular. Oh, my car's not starting. All you got to do is reverse that polarity. You'll be good to go. For those of you that have seen Endgame, and this is not a spoiler, but they use this cliche. I don't know if you caught it, but it has to do with Iron Man's ship that's stranded out in space. They said they reverse the ion charge or they reverse the ion polarity to get their batteries working for longer. That put a smile on my face. I don't know if they did that kind of as a nod to sci-fi or if they just genuinely thought that was some cool techno babble that would impress the audience and sound legit. But you're not fooling me, Marvel. I caught it. Get some better writers in there. And if you have not seen Endgame, go watch the dang movie already before someone spoils it, and then go listen to our Endgame episode because it was awesome. All right, 3 more to go. Next one is, what one of my friends calls the born sexy yesterday cliche. Now, this is kind of a combination of two cliches we see in movies, which is the born yesterday cliche and the over sexualized woman. Well, we're cramming them together. It's the double cliche in sci fi. We get a woman who has the innocence of a child. She has no knowledge of current world events. She's clueless to the culture and the norms of society, which leads to a bunch of comical and possibly some slightly adult awkward scenes where they're discovering what's not okay to do. So, all of that combined with the fact that they're incredibly beautiful and sexual and sexy, and they're a grown woman on the outside, but they're like a little girl on the inside, so innocent and clueless to the world. And some man's got to, rescue her or kind of show her what's what, and she's got to follow the guy to be rescued and save the day. And they often fall for the first guy that they encounter because they don't know any better, right? They're like a young girl, just innocent, and they'll fall for the first guy that shows them any ounce of attention. And even though a lot of times these female characters have amazing power on their own, such as Alita, Battle Angel, or Lilu from Fifth Element, one of my favorite movies, even though they have great power and ability on their own, they still need a man to kind of guide them around this crazy world and, to keep them safe and explain, oh, no, 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 this is not okay. You don't do this. Oh, no, no, keep your clothes on. We're not supposed to take our clothes off, just dumb stuff like that. It's kind of sexist, it's kind of misogynistic, it's very patriarchal, and it just kind of makes my eyes roll that we're still seeing this cliche. Okay, next, and I'm staying on the theme of patriarchy and women's rights. And this cliche often is when we're in the far, far future, right? Humanity's got world peace, we've got amazing technologies. We're just in a straight up paradise of the future. And men are still the main source of everything. They're still the leaders, the teachers, the explorers, the engineers. The men are the ones doing the great stuff out in the world, progressing mankind. And where are the women? Same old cultural expectations. They're still at home. They're still oppressed. They don't have many rights. They're still reliant on a man for everything. And they're still expected to be beautiful and basically just objects of pleasure for the men that are doing everything cool around the world. Pretty lame, very 1950s. No, thank you. When you really look at it in a big picture thing, it's basically most men's fantasy in a general way. What I mean by that is, what do men fantasize about? One general fantasy that most men have is they want to be successful, right? They want to be valued by doing something great for mankind, for their family, for themselves. They want to be the next great, inventor, the next great businessman, the next victorious warrior. And they want their woman to support them. They want their woman to gratify them. They want them to validate them, and they want them to stay out of their way and not hinder their progress, not change their way of life. It's a very selfish fantasy for sure, but it is a fantasy nonetheless, and it has been influencing a lot of science fiction written by men, especially in the golden age of sci-fi. We see very advanced human societies doing great stuff in the future, great advancements, but they haven't quite advanced the women issue. And that's just unrealistic to me. I feel like as mankind progresses, all things will eventually kind of move together and progress together. And these issues concerning women should be farther ahead and more progressed and more worked out in the future. All right, last cliche, and this might be one of the greatest ones, is the classic cliche where you take out the leader of the alien attacking force and the whole army just collapses dead because they're a hive mind, or they're droids controlled by a central brain, or whatever. They close the dimensional rift and they lose the connection to their energy from their dimension, and boom, the entire enemy force has been defeated with one foul swoop. The day is saved and everyone cheers, and they never show the actual cleanup of the alien bodies or havoc they've wreaked. So we see this cliche in Avengers, the first Avengers movie, where Tony brings the nuke up, destroys the main control ship through the wormhole out in space, and all the Chitauri warriors that are zooming around New York City on their cool hover bikes, they all just collapse and die because why? I don't know. They can't think for themselves? Are they robots? Something about them being controlled by something, and they just can't function, so they die. How convenient, right? Now we don't have to fight anybody. We can just relax, and the day is saved. Other places we see this cliche is Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. A great movie. I like the movie. I don't like Jar Jar Binks, and he's kind of annoying, but I like that movie. There, I said it. The droids, the battle droids, Roger, Roger, they all just collapse and die once the droid control center is bombed. and very convenient. Great for an ending of a movie. It's very happy. Another one that I remembered was Ender's Game. These aliens that they're fighting are hive mind, psychically linked aliens. All the soldier aliens are connected with Queen. All the soldier aliens are psychically linked and kind of indirectly being guided and controlled by the Queen alien, who is, at the top. She controls her entire hive of aliens. And once they bomb the right ship that contains the queen, all the enemy forces just lose their might, lose their organization, lose their will to fight, and the day is saved. All right, well, that is it for my list. This is a short episode for once. I know our last episode was probably our longest. I think it was an hour and a half. So if you listen to that, bravo. I'm also sorry simultaneously, but I hope you enjoyed the episode. But anyway, this is a short episode. Hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed writing these down. I've had these in my mind for years. I finally get a platform to roast these dumb things in public for all to see and hear. Well, I would love to hear what your favorite or least favorite cliches are in sci fi or fantasy. Why not, right? Let's include that too. You can write us at our email at tvvpodcast@gmail.com, or better yet, comment on our Facebook or Instagram or YouTube posts. That way, everyone else can read it and join in the conversation because that's what we want. All right, well, thanks for listening, and we'll be with you next week. If you like this show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, you can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week. I promise one day I will write the perfect sci-fi novel where I will write down all these cliches again and I will not include them. Now I just need to find the time to get around to doing that.